Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord Jesus. We thank you for the day. We thank you for shaking those that are on to hop on to listen to an amazing story that you created, Lord Father. We ask that allow the hearts to be open. We ask the people that are not here to wiggle them a little bit to hop on the call to understand and to see your miracles first and foremost. And we know that this process is not easy, but we are a selected group of few that you deem that we should go through this. And for whatever your reasons are, we want to know what they are so we can act accordingly and order our step towards you. We love you and we worship you in your precious and holy name we pray. Amen. All right. We pray before our sessions. You do not have to be of faith, regardless of what faith you follow or if you don't follow any faith at all. We are a faith based organization. My whole infertility story started with faith. Faith was presented in the middle, faith was at the end, and this was a direction that God told me to do is to start this. So it's rooted in faith, but you do not have to be a faith. It doesn't matter if you even a believer. We're just representing love and we accept you, and the resources is the resources. And we hope that maybe at a glance you'll see God in a different light. So we this is a different ministry outside the four walls of the church. All right. So we have a special guest. If you guys can see, I followed these two way before they had their miracle. And it was just fun thing to see two couples, especially couples of faith that are rooted in God and are just having fun. Marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. Sometimes I don't even like my husband. I love him, but sometimes I don't like him. However, there is something about creating a bond with your best friend that you just so happen to be married to and finding common ground and having fun in the process. However, sometimes some things are not always fun and are challenging, and we will get an opportunity to hear the story of these amazing individuals that I grew to love before even knowing them. So please, 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 you guys, introduce yourself. Feel free to drop any gems you want. And everyone questions Q&A, feel free to unmute at any point, ask your questions, or again, put it on the chat. All right, take it over. Welcome.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us, Sandra. We appreciate you
Yeah.
inviting us in this space.
Yes.
We don't take it lightly at all.
Mhm.
And we are here as allies, as support, as people who have been through what you guys are going through. And um, our prayer is that we all, everybody on this call can experience hope again. I think that's at the end of the day, it's uh, the word says hope defers makes the heart sick. And I think the hardest part is having that hope. We hope our story will just kind of give you that glimpse of hope and a little bit of joy. Because at the end of the day, what we do best is spread joy through love and laughter. Um, but yeah, enough of my talking. I want to at least introduce ourselves.
Yes.
Go ahead, baby.
Well, my name is Hope. As you were just talking about all this hope, it just feels weird to say that now, but my name is Hope. This is my husband, Kadero. And I do want to say this. I love what you're doing here. This is amazing. I wish that I was a part of something like this while we were going through our infertility and the whole journey. And just FYI, if you hear yelling, that is our miracle yelling in the other room in the
Time of our
house,
life.
having the time of her life. So excuse us in advance for that. Um, but I do want to encourage, and I know that you said that this is a safe space. We completely agree with that and respect that. But also at the same time, want to encourage anybody if they ever do feel led to just turn their camera on at any point, just to come out of a space of, because I was in that space of, I don't want anybody to see me in this moment. I don't want to um, show myself in this moment. and I get it, I respect it. I don't know where everybody is, but if you ever find the courage during this call to show yourself, I think that is something beautiful that you can do to allow us to see you, allow us to feel you, allow us to have that moment with you as well. So I'll just say that. But if you guys don't, that's fine too. We'll just keep it going. But like you said, my name is Hope. This is Kadero. Where do we begin?
Ooh.
That is the big question. Little history about us is we have known each other or known of each other since middle school. So we've been rocking for a long time. We've dated in high school. If you ask for the truth of our love,
It's
come
my
to
story.
me.
It's my story, of course.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, all right. But yeah, we've known each other for over 20 some odd years and have been together. We'll be celebrating 16 years of marriage next week.
This week.
Oh, this week.
Friday.
Jesus.
Come on
Yeah,
now.
this Friday. Sorry, June is a blur. We got a lot going on in June. But yeah, this Friday is our 16th year anniversary. And so it's crazy just to see the people that we've become now versus the kids that we were when we met, and then to witness everything that has happened from our youth to now. It's been crazy, and one of those big things that we have dealt with together has been our infertility journey. So that is what we're here to talk about. So I'll let you just, if you want to, because
I get the dates right.
he gets the dates right, and I thank him for that because I was thinking about it earlier, and I feel like a lot of times like this is all a blur for me, right? Because there has been moments where I didn't want to acknowledge certain things as I was going through that grieving process, as I was going through the depression, as I was going through things. My timeline has been jacked up. So there are often times where I'm like, well, what year did this happen? And it's not because like I want to forget about it, but something had allowed me to block out certain things. So we have to like write down dates and I have to remember because sometimes I wasn't fully there. I wasn't fully present. I wasn't aware of what was going on, even though I was living through it. So he is the man with all of the timeline.
Yeah.
He's great with timeline. So I will let you
Yeah.
start it
So
off.
we got married in June of 2009, June 20th. So
Yeah.
yeah, this Friday we will celebrate 16 years.
Mhm.
Young. I was 20, I was 21, about to
Mhm.
turn 22. Hope was 23. So we were youngins as we got married, moved out to Oklahoma a week after we got married as I was starting a graduate assistant program at the University of Oklahoma. And so we were starting life together and we knew kids had always been in our bucket, loved kids, been
Yeah.
around kids. Hope worked at a daycare. My mom ran like an in-home daycare, so always around kids and knew children were going to be a part of our lives. What we didn't know was going to be how long it was going to take, how hard it was going to be, and that was tough. Funny thing is, when we're in this process of like children, this is probably 2010, and I remember going for a walk and Hope's talking about, okay, what are you thinking? Like, you already start having kids, and I'm like, I earn $1,000 a month right now.
Yeah.
How am I going to take care of you and a kid? And I was like, she was like, but we talked about this. We're gonna have kids. And I think it was like I remember going full blown. We were like,
Yep.
I just want to make sure we are well taken care of. Like not just you, but our baby. I want to make sure like it's good. And, I would say one thing about us, it was a faith move of getting married because we got married and I was not making it. She just saw something in me that we was gonna make it. So I give her props to willing to take a leap of faith for me there. But we came to bats of the fact of like she wanted kids immediately. And I was like, whoa, let's slow down. But fast forward and like it didn't stop us to say, hey, we're gonna use protection and things like that. We just kept doing life and doing what we did to each other. And we was gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
But funny, crazy thing is nothing was happening. And I think in those moments it was like, oh, this is interesting. So
Mhm.
I remember 2012 was kind of that first trip where it was like, okay, now we're 3 years in, things had changed financially. We were like, okay, if it happens, we're good. In 2012, at this point, is that we're at 3 years. I'm like, yeah, maybe we should like see a doctor, think about different things, and that was the first step for us. And we into like oral treatments, things like that. Hope for you. I think pretty much all like life, your span of life, your
Yeah.
menstrual cycles had never been
Regular at
regular.
all.
Yeah.
They were always irregular. My periods were always painful. Like, I just didn't have that luxury, I guess, that other women had of knowing my period comes this time, all of that, all of those things. So growing up, it never factored to me that this may be a situation I'd have to deal with once I'm ready to have kids. It was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm a teenager, my body's still maybe developing, I don't know, So I've kind of always dealt with that, but never thought about what that could mean.
Yeah.
So I know that we did start the oil treatments and all of that stuff, and we were not seeing anything
Not seen anything.
at all.
Um, and in this span of this time frame, I'm working in college athletics. And so we are like moving. So that 2009, we get married, we're in Oklahoma. 2011, we moved back to Richmond, Virginia, where we're originally from. 2012, we go back to Oklahoma because now a full-time job came about. So that 2012, when we started the oral treatment, now we're going into 2013, 2014, we move again to South Dakota. Like hindsight looking back, it was like, man, even the stress of that moving. And when we used to move, it would be like, hey, we need you in 2 weeks. And Hope was always the type like, you're not leaving without me. So we gonna do this in two
Yeah.
weeks. So literally we pack up our place, we would get moving and we would go. And so 2014, we were in South Dakota. She got there and she was like, I'm not living in South Dakota longer than a year. So you got a year to get me out of here. I got out of here in there out of about 10 months.
Yep.
We moved to Madison, Wisconsin, for a position at the University of Wisconsin. So that was 2015. At that point, again, I think we kind of found a doctor, re-upped on the oral treatments.
Yeah.
And in November, well, actually, it would have been October, we got pregnant.
Yeah. That was all the feels, right? You wait from 2009 to finally getting pregnant in 2015. And so it was one of those things, like Kadero said, he was in college athletics, and one of the football games was actually close to our hometown. So I remember we invited our family up, and we were thinking, oh, this would be the perfect opportunity to share the news with them, even though I was super early, and they always, say, don't share so early, wait at least through the first trimester and all of that. But it had been 6 years that we had been waiting for this moment. So we agreed, we were like, we're gonna just tell our family. And so we told our family, everybody's through the moon excited, over the moon excited, whatever. And so we felt great. And then there was a moment that we didn't feel great when we got back home, because I remember I started bleeding a little bit. And I remember with Kadero working in athletics, his days were long, early mornings, very late nights. So a lot of the time it felt like I was kind of alone, even though he was there for me in every way that he could be. The hours were like, oh, I'm missing my husband right now. I'm bleeding. I wish that he was physically present with me in this moment, but I get that he has to work. And so it was these feelings of, oh, I just need him with me, especially away from family and stuff like that. So I started bleeding, and then I was like, we probably need to go to the doctor. So we set up the appointment. And so the ultrasound tech was on my stomach, like looking, and she said, I'm going to go get the doctor. Of course, those are never the words that you want to hear, right? I want you to tell me, oh, there goes your baby. Look at your baby. This is happening. They're developing, all this other stuff. But the first thing was like, I'm going to go get your doctor. And I asked her, I said, why? And of course, they can't tell me anything in that moment. So now I'm just going into worry mode, and I'm like, God, what is happening? first pregnancy, first time experiencing this. Um, and so basically, long story short, we ended up miscarrying that baby. And I remember calling Kadero and saying, I
On my way.
I'm on my way. Yeah. So I showed up to his job and he came out and we just had a cry fest in the middle of the street. My car was like halfway parked on the sidewalk. And it was something that I would never wish upon anybody. It's something that was my first time experiencing this loss. I had so many questions like, what is wrong with me? God, why would you allow this to happen? Um, am I broken? Like, all of the things just started coming to my mind. And so we experienced that. I won't stay on that too long. So after we miscarried, that was what, 2015. Um, I went to the doctor and was just kind of like, okay, just kind of like more of a checkup, seeing where my health was as far as like just my blood work, like all of that stuff. And I remember this doctor telling me that I was showing strong symptoms and diagnosis of PCOS. And I was like, okay, well, what does that mean for me when it comes to having a baby? Like, um, and she was just explaining to me that we're not saying it's impossible by any means, but it's definitely going to make it a lot harder for you to conceive. So then I'm like, okay, God, here goes another thing on top of the miscarriage that I just had. It's like now I'm getting news that like it's going to be hard to conceive. And yeah, so I had to share that diagnosis with Kadero. And then after that, we kept trying oral treatments. Oral treatments were not working. So then we tried IUI. We had that conversation. We tried IUI. So we were like, okay, let's
2017.
yeah,
Do you guys
2017.
remember what oral treatments you guys were taking by any chance?
Ooh, I feel like Clomid.
Clomid,
Clomid was
Clomid was
one.
one.
definitely.
That was one of the first
First
ones.
ones. I could not honestly tell
The
you
second
the
one.
second one. I do not remember. I remember the first one that we were on though.
Yeah.
And so then after that we did the IUI, nothing happened. So then 2019, Kadero, did you have anything you want to say before that?
Yeah, IY was just it was just one of those things like we tried it and it was like, so it just doesn't work. Like it was one like so nothing like you just get in these moments where you start when you use these like interventions, these medical interventions, you it's in your head like it's supposed to work. And
Right.
so when it doesn't, it's this feeling like, so what do we do? Like
Like that
you
was
you
it.
you come in the room, okay, here's the next step, but it's just like, well, why didn't it work? And so your mind just is constantly racing. I just remember like feeling like, wow, like okay, I kind of know the next step.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we start getting talked about IVF, but in my head and all the stories I see, what I see on TV, like IVF is like money.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because I had a coach that was on staff with me. Him and his wife were dealing with the same thing, and they had just finished IVF. And he would say, "Hey, I think it cost us like 40,000." And I'm thinking, my role and your role is different, bro. You make hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not there yet. Yeah, 40. That's I can't see myself putting that out to do this. And it was just like, wow, like for what's next when I feel like this is not working. We don't want to do it again. The next step is like money. Like it was just for as a husband, a provider, and like you're just like, what's next? How are we gonna break through?
Yeah.
Um,
Ask you that as a husband, like, how did that feel from having a loss to now trying to go to the next steps and your position as a husband? Like,
mhm.
just in case we have the husbands in the back end listening, like, how did that feel? We know the financial part, but like mentally and physically as the husband in the household.
Yeah, I think it's exhausting.
Mhm.
Um, I think as men, we don't talk about our day to day. We are in our mindset. Most time we are providers, and we want to see the best for our wives. our wife and our kids. The problem is we will stack that up on everything else. And what we deal with when we go out in the workforce, whatever we're doing, everybody like we'll just hold it. We'll take that weight and we're gonna be strong. And eventually it's like, how much more can we take?
Yeah.
And so it could be a mentally exhausting, physically exhausting. And that's one of the first things that we have to be at our best. Like one thing I was learning, just like in like our semen has to be at its best. So we have to be in good physical shape and things like that, because usually that in that first 6 weeks when that DNA usually where I've come to find out it's usually the man on side. It's the semen because maybe it was something wrong on how it was shaped, and usually it instantly knows, hey, nope, this is not going to work. But because we're now going through this, I'm already mentally drained. I'm exhausted, but I'm trying to hold up tight because I look every day at her face. I look at her demeanor, and I don't want that. She's my light, and if it's dimming, I'm thinking about how can I bring that light back. So I think it's just tough, and I think sometimes our default is to be like be strong in it all because we can't have everybody down. We already know our wife is dealing with it, and she's dealing with it differently. So how can I make sure I'm taking a load off? And so our default is just to be strong.
Yeah.
So, whole quick
Oh,
question.
yeah.
Because I heard my husband's story maybe 3 years ago of how he felt in the whole process for the very first time when we had a event, and it was like, oh my gosh, I never knew this portion of how he dealt with it. Did you need him to be strong at that moment?
I feel like we took turns. I feel like there were times when I did need him to be strong. Like I needed him to say, we're going to get through this. Like you're not tripping, nothing's wrong with you, all of those things. Um, and he was that, and it takes me back to a time I remember we were in Wisconsin, and we constantly had these conversations like, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen, and I had this thought in my mind that I never wanted to verbalize. And this is how I knew like he's my person, right? Because I had this thought in my mind, but I couldn't say it out of my mouth. And he looked at me and he paused, and we were in the living room, and he said, do you think that I'm going to leave you if we can't have kids? Right.
Mhm.
And I could never say that. I could never, like, for some reason, there was like this over my mouth where I could never articulate, I think you may like, not that I think that he would, but I was afraid that if I can't give him kids, if I can't have a baby with this man, or, like what is his thought process? Because our whole childhood to up until this moment, that's all we've talked about. And so I'm like, what if I can't promise on my end of it? Like what's going to happen? And when I tell you, I just broke down in that moment. I broke down because I was like, you just gave language to something that I was mute on for years. And so for you to see me in that moment was beautiful. So he was strong, very strong for me. There was moments where I feel like I was strong for him. Like it was a ping pong battle. Like we both needed each other. And so it's I think I think there was a lot of pressure though that I
Mhm.
had, that he felt that I never said, right? And so, yeah, I needed him to be strong, but I also knew that there was moments where he needed me to be strong too. So I'd have to put on my big
Yeah.
girl panties and
You
be
you
strong
veer
in that
into
moment.
something. You veer into something that I mentioned a couple of times in our support groups, our events. And one of the things when somebody registers to be part of our infertility, to be part of our email list, we ask them a series of questions. And a lot of us, probably out of everyone that fill out, maybe 50% gave their husband an out.
Mm,
Mm.
Like they literally said, of course, we don't want it, but in their mind, it's like, it's okay. Since I'm the issue or whatever, um, it's okay to go. And then we look at even the Bible when we talk about Abraham and Sarah. When she said Hagar, I'm like, this was kind of her way of giving him an out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here, there's people that's maybe their first time listening, or they've been going through this journey. How do you feel that you can give them some word of encouragement for both the man and the woman, if they want an out, or if they thinking in their mind, this man is not going to stay with me, or this woman is not going to stay with me? What can you guys give? I know this is a last minute pop-up question, to encourage them that an out may not necessarily be the answer.
Yeah, for me, I think it's simple, right? And this is doesn't matter what faith you are at all. When we walked down that aisle and we stood in front of everybody and all these witnesses, yes, him before God, but however your faith is, you looked at that person eye to eye and you said for better or for worse.
Yeah.
So what does that worse look like? Did you put a condition on that worse? I didn't put a condition on worse, like for rich or poor, sickness and health, that whatever it may be, there was not a condition, there wasn't levels to it. So if it's this sickness, if this is this worst situation, you because I said I do, you stuck with me. You that is what it is. Like for us, and now this may be different faith wise. Divorce, if divorce is an option for us because of something like that, we got too many options. And that was just how my thought process was. And I would hope, I would pray any man will look at his wife and remember the vow he took to for before her and say, for better or worse means if we
Just
didn't
that.
have just that, if this is the worst situation and it's we can't have kids, I still have you. And that's all that matters because even after the kids come, now we're talking biblically, she still comes first. So no matter what, for me, it's like I'm now I can just go back to my vow of it's always going to be you, no matter what.
Awesome. I love that. I'm
I
looking.
have nothing else to add, to be honest. Normally I do have something to say, but no, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
And he said it eloquently. So
Yes.
yeah.
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 Yeah. Sorry for cutting you. Go ahead.
No, no,
You're
not at all. No. I think where we're at now is in that we were 17 IUI, now we're looking again, we then took another move. This move is different and it's crazy because Hope's always talk about timeline, God's timing.
crazy, right?
We're actually we live in Tulsa, Oklahoma now, and we attend Transformation Church, and our associate pastor is now was talking literally about time and how God stands outside of time. He created time to put you in a time for an appointed time. And so there's this timeline we don't see and truly understand. We just know we want it when we want it.
Mhm.
God's like, I'm going to give it when I know it's time. And so at that time of 2019, I get let go of my job. And it was like, okay, here we go. Again, husband trying to take care of my family and I get let go. Funny thing is, the amount I was making 2 weeks before I got let go, she came to me and was like, "Hey, I think I want to like stop working, start doing my own thing and work in a business. Like, can I come off?" I was like, "Yeah, we made it a point. We're good. If you want to work, don't want to work, let's do it." 2 weeks later, I get let go. And it was like both of us ain't got no job. Here we go. All right, this should be
Yeah, this should be
interesting.
interesting.
This should be
Yeah.
interesting. And our lease is coming up at our apartment. And so we're at a place where we literally got no job and we about to have no place to live.
Yeah.
Well, because of the grace of God and his constant covering, and because he's Jehovah Jireh, the provider, one of the assistant coaches for that team was like, "This is crazy that you got this let go." They had another house in the country, but they had one in downtown Madison, Wisconsin. He's like, "Y'all can stay there as long as y'all want. Just, here's the keys. However long y'all need, just go." So we end up staying there, and a friend of mine was like, "Hey, I have a job in Chicago at Northwestern. Do you want it? It's in recruiting." I was like, "No, I don't want to get into that area." He would call me once a month, and he called me for 3 months. That last month, this one, I was like, "Brother, if you don't take this job, because at the end of the day, you got nothing."
I said,
So
this is month 3 now.
this is month 3.
Opportunity will come knocking, but it don't normally come knocking this 3 times. So I'm gonna just need you to open the door, walk through it, because
And I had to,
else at this
I
point.
had to push my ego and my pride,
Yeah.
my pride aside to say, I guess, yeah, at the end of the day, I got to take care of my family. So we took this job. We moved to Chicago.
Yeah.
We're getting into, getting getting kind of settled in Chicago, and we were looking back at fertility treatments.
Yeah.
And we come to find out in Illinois, they cover IVF. It was
like
up
a
to
huge amount, like 90% or something like that.
95%. So this one, like, time is like, it must be God. Look at you here. We are here. This is our chance to now try this. So it was like, okay, let's give this IVF a shot. What we thought was gonna be all this money, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
I remember getting this big old box, and it's all this stuff. It's the shots. And for us, one thing about us, we're silly. That's just our nature. We met in theater class. So like our goofy nature is us. So I remember seeing the shots that I had to give her every night. She was like, "I'm not doing this to myself." So I was like, "I got you." I used to wash my hands, get a glove, act like I'm this doctor. And I'm gonna make it as like just lighthearted as possible, because I know the actual strenuousness she was about to go through. And so we went through that first round, and I think we had 4 embryos. And so we implanted one, and nothing did not take. And so it was one of the moments, like, again, medical intervention, and you telling me nothing happens. This is mind blowing. And it was like, I think it was later we realized, one, when it didn't even take, it was a loss. Like, it was just initially when we're in it, it was like, oh, it didn't take. This stinks. But then it was like, yo, that was another loss. That was another embryo loss. That was like, that's another on the count. We're now at 2. And then we didn't freeze anything. So then the 4, and they put one, then it's like, that was a lot right there that's now gone. And we'll never see those kids. Like, it's done. And so it was once we were done, I think we still had this like hope and just a glimpse of hope, like, okay, let's just try again. Like, we had this let's just try again.
Yeah.
So we went through the whole process again. I think this one time was just a little more just mental exhaustion going through the second one. The fun is trying to keep it lighthearted one, but this time it's like, because now I have this memory of it didn't work last time. So I'm going in this like, am I doing this for nothing?
And I think too, just like painting the picture, like Kadero's still working in athletics. Like, he's still working at this point. And I remember, like, there was a time we were going to, it was a basketball game, right? At the college.
Trying to do date night.
Trying to do date night, being there for an event. And like with IVF, like, you have to take your shots at a certain time, like all of the things, right? You have to stay refrigerated. And so like, I'm coming up to the game with like this ice pack, and they're like, "Ma'am, what's in your bag?" And like, now you have to explain to other people like what you're going through. Like, now my personal journey isn't so personal anymore. Like, I'm talking to a stranger that, well, I have medication,
Security.
and their needles, and like, you go through this whole thing, and then it's like, I remember, I feel like we told we were going out with friends of ours at the game, and we were like, guys, we'll be right back. And so now, probably the worst place you could do this, but we went to the family bathroom because we just had to lay out all of our stuff. Like, now we're shooting up in the bathroom, and um I'm just thinking, and Karen's just thinking, like, we're going through all of this.
Doing all
We're
this
doing
stuff.
a lot of this for a possibility. And at that moment, I'm like, God, do you see us? Like, do you see us trying? Do you see us, like, we're showing ourselves faithful to the process? Like, please just let this work. And so it's just those moments that, like, looking back at like pictures from that night or video footage from that night and just thinking, like, God, we were like in it deep. Like, we really wanted this to work. Um, so on that second round, they actually put in 2 embryos. Told us the whole, well, you could definitely have twins if they both take. Like, this is what could happen. And so they put in 2 embryos and one took. And so once again, we were over the moon excited. We were like, okay, this is happening. It feels more, for some reason, it feels more secure than our 2015 pregnancy, right? Because I'm like, well, we went through IVF. Like, your mind is like, this got to be great and work. And so it was one of those things where I feel like I was getting the news that I never wanted to hear. Yes, ma'am, you are pregnant, but your numbers and your HCG levels are not where we would like for them to be. So I'm like, okay, God, here we go with another pregnancy. I haven't miscarried, but of course, there's something with it. Like, why can't I just have this normal, healthy, regular pregnancy like everybody else? In my mind is what I'm thinking. And so I think it was like every 2 to 3 days I was getting blood drawn, and like they just wanted to watch my count. And so now I have still marks on my arms of just all of the pricks, all of the bruises from that. Um, all for it to end in another miscarriage. And so I was like, God, what is wrong with me? Like, what is wrong with why? I just had so many questions. And I remember, is there anything you want to say before why are you getting emotional?
No, because I just remember again now, one didn't take, so now count that one. To then get pregnant and then lose that one. And there's another. And then the ones that never even we didn't freeze. And so now this count of loss is just it's becoming overwhelming. Of legacy that I will never see.
Yeah.
And so I think it was frustrating more than anything at this point. Because we're putting time and money, and like you said, God, look at me, I'm trying to be faithful and I'm not seeing a return. And like I'm in what I work in athletics is a very business side, and it's like you hear, all right, I need a return in my investment. And I felt like I wasn't getting a return. So that was November of 2019 when we had that miscarriage.
Yeah. And so at this point, I feel like we're going quickly through this, but at this point, 2019, it had been 10 years, that we are experiencing all of this. And so within those 10 years, I got to the point after that last miscarriage from the IVF, I threw up my hands. I said, God, I'm tired. My body has been through a lot these last 10 years. We've gone through, at that point, what, like 5 or 6 moves at that point? Like, I'm just exhausted. Like, Kadero had lost his job. There had been depression we had just dealt with that. So it was like, I am just at wit's end at this point. And I said, I am totally surrendering this moment to you. And this is just my truth story. I told him, I said, the only way that I will get pregnant is if you do it. I said, I'm not seeking out any more treatment. I'm not putting anything else in my mouth. I'm not shooting myself up. I said, the only way that this is going to happen is if you do it. I said, I'm done with it. And so then after that was December. And
Before Christmas.
yep, December right before Christmas of 2019. And so um I slipped into depression. I didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do anything because at this point, we're still away from family. We haven't really had like friends along this journey as we've moved around in close proximity with us. Um, and so I was just in the bed while Kadero was at work. I didn't want to do much. I didn't want to talk to anybody really. He was the main person I was talking to. And so when he was at work, I wouldn't talk to anybody else about it.
Mm.
And then COVID happens, right? My God, okay. Something else is hitting this world right now that we live in. And um, so it's now January 2020, February, March.
March is when everything
March
kind
is
of
when
shut down.
everything pretty much shut down on our end, and Kadero was told that he was going to be working from home. And so now, this is 3 months that have gone by that I have still been in this state of depression. And so Kadero comes home and he's working from home now. And so there's just a lot of us seeing each other. We had never seen each other this much throughout the day. He normally was working like 12-hour shifts a day. So I'm like, wow, like I see
Yeah,
you a lot.
yeah.
Like we need to do
Do
something
something.
else besides just staring at each
And
other.
even just doing something is because it was weird because like she said, she smiles all the time.
Mhm.
This like my dad calls her giggles because she's always that's just our nature, and that wasn't there. So again, that light was like off,
Mhm.
and that was weird for me.
And now, because he's actually seeing
And
it
now I'm
instead of being
seeing
at
it
work.
because I'm not, yeah, every day seeing it where it's like, no, this is not the same hope. And so,
No,
like I said, we go ahead.
I think we don't talk about the depression that goes along with infertility.
Mhm.
Because because many of us we so used to putting that face for so long. I mean, at this point, it's been 10 years. You've been wearing the mask for 10 years.
Yeah.
So now that mask is off, or you've
Mhm.
lost control of the mask, I should say.
Yeah.
And he's home and he can finally see it. So
Mhm.
many of us don't realize what deep depression we can go into with all this infertility. And not to mention the medication also doesn't help.
Right.
But I'm happy you're highlighting that portion, definitely, because we
Mhm.
go into these dark spaces.
Mhm.
So how did you, or if you ever started creeping out of that?
Yeah. Okay. So Kadero looked at me and he said, "All right, we got to do something about this, right?" So of course, and don't get me wrong, we are people of faith, right? So the prayers we've called on God so many times at this point. It's like, okay, we believe, but we
But we're
also need to
human.
do something. We are human and we need to do something else. And so at this point, like everybody, it's kind of new to us, like the whole TikTok thing and like the dances and comedy skits and all of that. So I would find myself like watching those videos. Kadero would watch them as well. And it was one day he was just like, let's try it. Right. And so we're like, all right. So we turned the camera on and there's like this dance routine that we did. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so I feel like the more and more we started doing it, the more and more I was like looking forward to now getting up out of the bed, filming something that would make me laugh. Like it ranged from crazy dances to random skits, like just to things to make me laugh, right,
Mhm.
and put a smile on my face. Um, then I feel like it started kind of getting bigger and in the sense of following. So now like people are catching on to like, oh my gosh, they're so cute, or like I wish my husband would dance with me, or like look at them. And I was like, oh, okay. It was not what we had set out to do. Our main Instagram was just so our family and friends could catch up with like our happenings or
Yeah.
vacation or date nights or whatever.
Yeah. In
So
March, we probably had 250 followers.
yep.
250 followers
And
in
I
March.
was totally fine with that.
And we were
Totally fine with that.
just being fun. Gotta
Yeah.
have fun with one another.
And so then you start getting messages of, oh my gosh, I needed this laugh,
Mhm.
or I'm in depression now because, somebody I love just passed of COVID. And I it changed my perspective. I'm like, here I am, here we are trying to get out of depression ourselves. And it's this moment here that we decided to turn on a camera that was now helping somebody else get out of their depression, or, you know, brighten up their day from whatever they were going through. And so one, it made me see, okay, I knew I wasn't the only one suffering from something or depressed about something, but now it was like an assignment and a mandate that God had put on us. Like, okay, you guys have gone through this. You guys have lived through this. Now it's time to turn it around and help other people that are going through something similar or that are dealing with, their own sort of depression. And so um it became more of a task and assignment from God. And so my perspective just changed in that moment of, okay, God, I'm starting to see none of what I'm going through is about me, but it's about you. And if you have to use me, I'm fine with that. And that was a pill that I had to swallow because, of course, you're like, well, why you had to choose me to go through this? Like, why couldn't I just be one of the ones that was like, I could, help somebody in another way? But it comes back full circle the way that that he's working it out. Um,
And I think that for us now, this waiting that we have been through, at this point, we're at 2020. So we're in the 11-year mark. 2020, COVID's happening, and we're waiting. And so in that moment, there's this paradigm shift in thinking of, am I waiting? Do I constantly just bug out of this is what I want, this is what I want? Or is it, God, what do you want from me
in this moment.
in this moment?
Mhm.
How are you
Shift
changing
from
me?
that place.
Yeah. How are you changing me? How are you pruning me? All these things are happening. So 2020, we get through this. 2020 comes around and we're watching online and we're watching Transformation Church, and the word of the year was anchored. And it was being talking about being anchored in God when you're going through everything else and getting out to the deep. And here we are like, oh yeah, we deep in this, guy. Like, but we want to be anchored in you. Like you are gonna be, she already said, only way it's gonna happen is you. But I also think, Matthew 11 talks about come to me all that are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest. And in that moment in 2020 and 2021, once she gave that and we just dancing, this dancing was just causing us to rest. We weren't thinking about it. We weren't allowing ourselves to be burdened with it as much and just allowing ourselves to be weary. And we were now, our focus has changed. Yo, we out here be able to help others. Like a mom who kid was autistic and never said a word, watch one of these weird videos and was making noises for the very first time. And for us, we're like, whoa, like she's like thanking us because their child just made a noise. It wasn't even a word, it was just noise, but they had never heard their child make a noise. But they watched this video of us being silly and just having fun, and they make a noise. Like, so now our focus had totally changed, and we are now resting in our what we felt were our problems. Um, and 2021 was also this now shifting even in us. Like, God, what are you pruning and changing me? This thought of I'm always away from my wife, and I remember one day we're walking and I'm seeing kids play outside, and she was like, I was like, man, I can't wait to play with our kids. We had that faith, but she looked at us like, but are you gonna be here for? You always working. Saturdays is game day in college. You can't be at the youth league football game if you at your game, and it like that hit me. I was like, oh man. And so even in that, I felt God was shifting me like it's time to come out of this. Some people can do it, but I called you out of it. And can you take that charge and come out of it? And at that point, it was so hard for me because I had found my identity in it. Like I played it. As soon as I came out of playing it, I worked in it, and I worked in it for over a decade. So my identity was sports. And so now you're telling me to come out of that. Why? But on the other side, he's like, because your wife's gonna need you, your future child. I don't know that now, but hindsight, seeing it where we are now, I see, oh wow, okay, God, I see what you're doing. And so in this time span of 2021, we're gonna be anchored in God. Things are gonna change. I made a decision, all right, I'm gonna come out of athletics, I'm gonna figure out what's next. In May of 2021, Now we're probably hitting pretty much just a little over 11 and a half, right? Years. I decided, okay, I'm coming out. We decided, okay, we're going to create roots here in Chicago. We buy our first place as a condo. Um, and then she was taking all these naps. I was like, why are you napping so much? Like, what is going on? Nap shaming her. Like, I ain't never seen you take a nap just in the middle of the day.
Nap police.
Nap police.
Yep.
And come to find out, we had
Yeah.
got pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was natural.
Mhm.
Like again, from that prayer of surrender, she said, only way you gonna do it, like only way we're gonna is you do it. Like this ain't gonna be medicine. It was you gonna have to do it. And so we bought a house. We closed on it May 7th. I have been interviewing for jobs. May 16th, I found out I got a job working remotely. So I'm now coming out of college athletics. And I'm going to work remotely and I'll be home every day. May 23rd, we found out we were pregnant
Yeah.
with our baby girl.
Yeah.
And so literally it was three things and it was like a decision. And it was something about being obedient. All I'm asking was you to be obedient to me and watch me work. And again, and suddenly three things pop up. And we were just like, okay, God, wow.
And I think it's crazy, right? Because I remember going to the infertility clinic, and at that point, when we were in Chicago, at that moment, I hadn't had like found an OB, and so I called the fertility clinic, and I was like, "Yeah, I know that I saw you guys like not too long ago searching for treatment, but I think that I'm actually pregnant. Like, is there any way that you guys can check on me, like get blood work done and all of the things?" And I had a moment like when I was driving back to the infertility clinic because it was a reminder of all of the things that we had been with, but they were also the ones that confirmed my natural pregnancy. And so when they called me back, they're like, "Oh no, like you're pregnant, pregnant. Like your numbers are through the roof, like you are pregnant." And it was just like a surreal moment of um for us, like just God's faithfulness, and like when he does it, and there was no conversation of, well, we want to bring you back in because we want to check and make sure that things are progressing. It was like, no, sweetie, like you are pregnant. And so just having that first ultrasound with them and them seeing and confirming and having the same doctor that was trying to get us pregnant and seeing and her seeing and witnessing what God had done in our life was just, it was surreal. It was surreal. And when I tell you, I'm trying not to jump ahead, but when I tell you, like, literally, our daughter is everything that we have prayed for, everything that we have cried over, every, and I was detailed. I was detailed with God, like the, all the way down to her personality, her sleep schedule, like everything. Like, I was like, God, I need her and I to be like this when it comes to the sleep because I love my sleep. Like every little detail he came through. And, it's just for us, and this is hindsight, and I know that everybody is at different stages, right, on this call. But for us looking back and looking over that 11-year plus journey that we went through, it's something about timing, what Kadero said in the very beginning, and realizing that our daughter needed to be born at a certain time, in a certain state, around certain people because of what he has placed on the inside of her, her calling on her life. And for us, it's just knowing that even when we thought that we had it all figured out, when we thought we had our plan together, our faith is knowing that God ultimately knows all, right? And so, Him knowing that I needed certain things to be situated. I needed you to grow Hope in this area to be the mother that she's going to need you to be. Kadero, I needed you to grow up in this area real quick to father her the way that she's going to need to become the person that she needs to be. So it's always it's never easy when you're going through it because you don't see the full picture.
Mhm.
I know you don't. I didn't see the full picture. But now that we are here and looking back, I know for sure back in 2009 when I wanted a baby, God was saving whoever's child that was going to be because we were not ready.
Mhm.
We were not ready. I was not ready financially. Like you just never know the imprint that that would have left on that baby had we had that baby at that time. So it's just um trusting is what it ultimately comes down to. Is just trusting in whoever you pray to, whatever your faith is, like trusting that it is going to work out the way it's supposed to work out when it's supposed to work out.
All
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
all things work.
Yeah, timing is, of course, we know that is everything. But let's
Mhm.
go back just a little bit. For this one, you're finally pregnant.
Mhm.
Did you have any moments where you like, because you had loss,
Mhm.
did you have any moments where you went back to that? Like, should I tell anybody? Should I be excited? I'm scared to be excited. Like, did you have, or was this feel totally different?
Nope. All of that.
All the
All
above.
of that.
We waited to like 13,
We were
14
no,
weeks.
no, no, we were 10 and a half weeks, but that was
Mhm.
only because my grandmother had passed and we went back home
That's right.
to be with family. And so um we were 10 and a half weeks, but we
It was a very select few.
very select few, like
Very
just
select few.
immediate mother, dad, sisters. Like that was
But I
it.
feel like we were even later before we made that our announcement.
Oh yeah.
That was later.
Yeah, that was a
Later.
lot later.
Yeah.
Um I will say I Kadero once again had to be strong for me because that entire pregnancy was beautiful. I had
No complications.
no complications, no morning sickness, nothing. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that pregnancy.
You
My
wouldn't have thought it though.
You would not have thought it the way that my mental was. My mental was I'm not believing that this baby is going to be here until I see this baby outside of my body in my hands, in my arms. Like it was a everyday thought. It was an everyday and not that like I knew it's weird, right? Because you have the faith, but you also are living this out like as a human and you have the thoughts. And it's like I know that God's gonna be faithful. But at the same time, we have been through a lot. And so I'm like, God, you know my heart. Like I trust you in the same breath. I have a natural thought, and my natural thought is, oh my God, if I had a little spot of blood, oh my gosh, am I about to miscarry? Like you just have those moments of um where you just have these mind games that's going on the whole time. So I would say
She looked back and
I
said
was
she as great as a pregnancy it was, she probably didn't enjoy it as much as she could have.
yeah,
Because the mental.
Because of the
mental took me out. Mental
Yeah.
took me out. And it was one of those things that I mean, even when you get up to like labor and delivery, it's
Mhm.
like, God, something could happen during labor. Like it never went away.
And for us it was weird because we get all the way to 9 centimeters and then we have to do a C-section.
Yeah.
We're in labor the whole time,
28 hours.
20 hours of labor and delivery,
Yeah.
and then her head is tilted away.
It's like this. She's slightly
And they're like, we're not going to be able to do this vaginally. We're going to have to do a C-section.
And so now I'm like, oh my gosh, my first major surgery. Like I had never had surgery prior to this outside of like, the IVF.
And so she had already had the epidural.
Mm-hmm.
And now it was like, now you got to get more to do the actual C-section.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at her on this table and she's like, drug times 3. And I'm like, what is happening? What is going on?
And it was, I mean, and there was moments, I mean, the birth itself, I feel like I was there, but not there, like, because I was drugged up. And then also I'm going off of like 30 plus hours of not sleeping at this point. And then, I feel like I'm going in and out and I'm like, Lord, am I just going in and out of sleep? Am I going in and out of consciousness? Like, am I about to, I didn't think I was going to die, but I was like, my God, like, it's just a lot happening. But yeah, I would say mental was a huge hindrance to fully enjoy my
Mhm.
pregnancy.
I have not a question, but a moment. Of course, when I'm following you guys on social media, none of
Mhm.
us know all of this is happening in the background. None of us know. And in 2021, I had my miscarriage in
Mhm.
2021. So same thing, deep depression. I was finding you guys as well. So just strolling to the point, we even me and my husband, I copied one of your videos of like the
Oh,
little Mexican the little weird noise. And, and we did that. And it was probably one of the biggest following we had just from that. But it was a moment of okay, laughter, and let's just be kids again. Like I tell us here, like guys, go out on dates, make sure you're not talking about infertility, but
yeah.
those dates need to be almost like childlike, just
Mhm.
Yes.
giggles and fun, not just boring. I mean, dinner is fine here and there,
Mhm.
but when you're sitting down face to face, you start talking and having questions, and you may
Mhm.
veer to infertility because that's your world right now.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Something about just going bowling, just going to the fair and just be kids again. And that's
Yeah.
what I saw on your videos. Just
Mm.
having a good time with my best friend. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if we fall, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just having almost therapy time
Mhm.
Mm.
at that time. And that we do have a someone, I don't know if she's on now. She does that a lot with her husband. She is a therapist, marriage therapist, and she does that often on her page. But guys, definitely go to their page, find a video, copy, do it because it is just fun. Even if you don't post it,
Mhm.
it's just for you and your man to just have childlike fun
Yeah.
because infertility will rob you of fun.
Yes.
It will rob you in so much areas. And I do have someone that posts something and it was sweet, and I want you guys to hear it. Wow. We're in the beginning. Thank you for sharing your story. When I saw your name, Hope, my spirit lit up because I stand on hope daily. Hearing about the job loss hit close to home. For me, Kadero, my husband, also lost during treatment, and it shocked us. Giggles is also his nickname.
Oh, wow.
But this journey has moments where it robs your joy. So I feel like my light is dimming. But baby, you just threw gasoline and lit my fire. Your
Yep.
story breathes light into mine. I cannot thank you both enough for sharing. It's
Don't do it.
but
Don't do
it's things like that that makes it I see you tearing. I'm trying to too because I've been there. But it's moments like that that's like, okay, God, I get it now.
Mhm.
I get it now. I didn't get it then. I don't want to do this again. However, I get it. And
Yeah.
and for me, the fight was like, don't make me do this for no reason. It
That
has
part.
Right.
to be a reason. We didn't go
Yeah.
through all of this and just, oh, we're just raising kids. No, that's not good enough.
Mhm.
Our story was never for us. Our journey was never for us.
Mhm.
He just knew that you guys was going to be bold enough to speak.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So you guys were selected. And now I'm happy you guys are bold enough to speak because we got you here and
Appreciate it.
need to hear hope in
Mhm.
our foolishness, in our traumas, in our depressions, and see the light at the other side. So now that you guys have your miracle, how is life now? How's the fertility? How's your mental state? Did it change? Did it get better? Do you have moments? Like, how does that look like in the after on the other side?
Oh boy.
I was like, I wonder if you're gonna go there because we sit here and we're like, oh, we have this great story that end with this miracle, but like for us, we want one more, and so we're now in this space of okay, she's 3, she turned 3 in January. We're now back in what's deemed infertility when it's over a year. And
Mhm.
so the moment we could start again, we started again and nothing has happened.
Mhm.
And in December of last year, we got pregnant. We told our family for Christmas. Um, and then
Well,
we,
let me stop there, right? Because you go through this thought process of, oh God, you did it naturally this last time. And
Mhm,
it was perfect pregnancy, perfect everything.
You
God,
can do it again.
you did it this time because we had not sought out any type of infertilities, like anything. And so this baby was natural again. And so my expectation was like, oh, we 1 for 1 with God, with this last one. And so now he's done it again. Like we about to, okay, there's confidence a little bit more here to tell our family early, just
mhm,
for it to end in miscarriage again. And I'm like, now you have the same questions, like, God, why? Like, why would you do that? And
Back to the
and you step back and you look at it, and he's like, because I'm not done writing your story yet.
mhm.
You thought that your story was over with the miracle, but there are other people out here that have had miracles and have also lost afterwards. So
Mhm.
So
now,
now what's the story with the pain after the promise?
what is
Mm,
yeah.
mm,
And so, once again, removing ourselves from his ultimate, removing us and what we want,
Mhm,
to see his promise fulfilled is where we're at right now.
mhm,
So, God, I said, I am tired of being this example, you know, but in the same breath, I trust you with what you have given us. And I know that you know all. You've proven that to us. And he's also said, but I've built you guys for this. And so now it's a little bit easy. I'm not going to say it's easy because it's not easy, but it's a little bit easier when you realize that it's whatever he wants.
mhm,
And you
mhm.
have and for us, we have to be okay with God, whatever you have for us to do, we'll do it.
mhm,
And that's where we're at right now. So even though we just had a miscarriage in January of this year, it's like, okay, we'll deal with it, we'll process it, we'll go through all of the feels,
mhm.
but also know that we are here for something greater.
Yeah. And because we knew that, we were like, okay, let's get this out. Let's tell the story. Like it's on YouTube of the pain after the promise, of like kind of just going through how we felt, showing y'all would see us telling our family on Christmas, like we did it. Because we was like, we need to get it out now.
Yeah.
Let's get it out. Because there's healing and even getting it out and talking about it. And so, but we're like, okay, they're gonna already see, wow, the mirror they reached the ultimate pinnacle high and they already back here. Like,
Mhm.
okay, how are we dealing with that?
Yeah.
But you're gonna still see the laughter. You're gonna like because we're gonna go back to
Our default,
our
which is
default.
joy.
Our
Yeah.
default is always gonna be joy.
Hmm.
And joy is Jesus for us. And so that's kind of I think where we're at. And it's funny because again, in the weight, which kind of goes into our devotional and thing. It's called the weight that built us.
Hmm.
What is he building in our weight?
Yeah.
And so every time, it's funny. We both dreamed of a little girl before Novi is her name. Before she came, I want that little boy. I'm not gonna lie. I want that little boy. I have dreamed. And lately in this weight, I'm like, God, what do you need in me to raise a boy, raise a man in this world today? And so I'm like, even in these moments now, in my prayer times, like, okay, what do you need to prune in me? What do you need to cut in me so I'm able to truly raise a man of integrity, a man of valor, a man who's going to get into this world and it may not like him because he's a black man, like different things like that. Am I ready for that? I feel like I am, but am I really? And I don't know what the world's going to look like 20 years from now. So in that time frame, again, God sees that time.
Yeah.
And so he already knows. So he's like, maybe I need him at this time. And so now that's what I'm banking on. That's what my hope is in that process.
Okay. As individuals of faith, before I ask my questions, guys, if you haven't checked in, please check in because our giveaway will be from who checks in. So the link is in the chat. So please just click on there and just sign in as attendance. So my question, because we are faith and our faith anchors us. The faith got us through this far. were there moments where you were just mad at God?
Mhm.
Like, I'm like, I love you, God, but lack of better word, God damn it. Like, when- so were there moments where either your faith lacked or it was shaky? How was that? And how did you go back to anchoring yourself back in your faith?
Mhm.
Mm.
To quickly answer it, yes, our faith was shaky. Well, I'll speak for myself. My faith was shaky. I felt like I never questioned God, but I had a lot of questions, and um, my faith never left, but I knew when I needed to feed it. I knew when, okay, Hope, you need to get into the word. What does the word say about this situation? What does what is my prayer life looking like? How am I feeding myself? Am I dwelling more on the situation, or am I now communicating with God? Like, what am I doing with my time? What is occupying my headspace right now? And so when I knew that I needed to feed my faith, I knew when I needed to get in my prayer time. I knew when I needed to stop looking at my test results and dwelling on the numbers that I was seeing or the levels that I was seeing. Like, I knew that there were certain steps that I had to take to shift my and increase my faith. Um, but I feel like what I ultimately always go back to, and this is just for my personal life, is my history with Jesus.
I got history with Jesus.
And I look
Look my
back.
answer.
Oh, did I? And I always look back and I always think, God, you have never failed me. You have always been with me. You have always known what has been best for me when I did not know what was best for myself. And so when I look back over my life and I see what He has brought me through, and I see the trials that I've been through and the outcomes that have happened, I know you ain't gonna do all that just to leave me here and not do it again. So I have to have the faith. The same faith that I have for you for one situation is the same or not more faith that I have to have in this next season. So I always just go back to His track record, and His track record with me has been amazing. So it's like, why would I start doubting Him now? But
Yep.
this is my, I
Yep.
don't know if you can
That
say
you pretty much took it. You took it.
that.
I was literally gonna say my history with Jesus.
Mhm.
Mhm.
When I lost my job, what happened? Like when we went through different, what, like, God, you have always been that provider. You've always been a peacemaker. You've always done it.
Mhm.
Why? Like, the natural thought can happen, but what your worst is capture those thoughts, right? And that's what I had to do. What are we feeding? You like everything I'm thinking, you're saying, like, what are we feeding? Are we feeding fear? Are we feeding the doubt? What we feed grows. So are we feeding that, or are we feeding our faith?
Yeah.
Are we getting more hope? Because hope fuels our faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. So we got to have that hope. So the hope is fueling the faith. So are we gaining hope?
Mhm.
And for us, that was it. Like, we got to, in those moments of doubt, in the moment, feed my faith.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying to, like, okay, you have these moments and it's like, oh, gotta jump to faith, gotta jump to prayer. Like, feel the feels. Allow yourself to
Absolutely.
feel the feels. I felt all of the feels, but it was like those moments that you have, like, okay, now Hope, you gotta get it together. You gotta bounce back. And God's like, He's cool with that too. Have your moment, but also know who I am and come back. So
Mhm.
that's just what I did and what He did.
Jesus asked for the take this away from me. He asked, like, God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Can you take this? Like, he had that feel. Well,
Mhm.
we can have that feel as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Guys, if you do have questions, feel free to unmute at any point, or even add it in the comments on the chat, and I'll be able to read it out loud. But I do want to make sure you guys get your questions across if you do have a couple or some word of encouragement to our guests, because look, the other side doesn't mean the pain is gone. It doesn't mean you don't have moments. It doesn't mean that all the sky is just open and everything is just peachy. No, you're still gonna have your days, you're still gonna have your moments, But then I love the fact that your anchor is going back to the history,
Mhm.
going back to if he did it before, he can do it again. Like
Mhm.
that the song is playing in my head. Same God right now, same God back then. Like
Yep.
we we can't forget his track record,
Mhm.
because the enemy tend to do that. He does, still kill and destroy, and he wants to destroy all the good things that God has done. He doesn't want you to remember those. Like, who cares if he did that? No, but he's going to want you to remember the pain, the
Yeah.
sorrows, the loss. And I love the part you say you got to feel the feels. We so
Mhm.
rushed to heal,
Mhm.
but not going through the process is not healing. That's
Right.
skipping.
Yep.
You have to go through it, because if you don't, it's going to come right back in your face in a
Mhm.
different way. And now
Mhm.
it may be harder to deal with it. So, guys, please don't skip the process. It's part of the journey, it's part of the road. Feel it, speak your truth, but at the
Yeah.
same time, remember your what he has done for you in the past, and go back, even if you have to write them down, and every so often you go back and like, oh shoot, I forgot he did this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
reminder, because I've done that in the past. I'm like, oh, it's almost like a yearbook, your
Yeah.
yearbook. When you
Mhm.
go back to it and you remember all those feels you had in high school, the friends you had, it's almost like a yearbook of rewards or accomplishments or moments you shared with God. And
Mhm.
every so often you got to go back and says, okay, I may have forgotten really quickly how great you are,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna open it and realize, oh yes, you did do that,
Mhm.
because we're so quick to forget. So, guys, if you have moments with God or whatever it is, feel free to share it. Ask your questions as well as your inspiration through all of this.
Mhm.
So, I know you guys are working um, on your, well, you did your second baby, your work.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Mm. Yes. So we felt as though, okay, we're not going through all of this for no reason, right? So everything that we think about and do is like, what do we wish that we would have had, access to when we were going through it? And so um, we believe that God was like, okay, do a devotional. So we do have two products right now. We have a 10-day devotional, which is completely free. That is on our website. That is just talking about different things that we've gone through. There's different scriptures to go with the things that we've gone through. There's Kadero talking to the men at one point. There's me talking to the women. There's us talking together. And so we have a workbook. It's called devotional and workbook. It's called The Weight That Built Us. And like Kadero mentioned earlier, it's us just basically going through what we went through during the wait, during those 11 and a half years. How did we navigate that? What scriptures were we using? How did we, get through certain things? What was our thought processes during those things? So we just captured all of that and put it in a devotional to package it and give it to whoever is dealing with whatever type of weight. It stems from our 11 plus years of infertility, but honestly, when we read it back, we were like, this could be for anybody in any type of waiting season, the devotional. So it's just, I don't know, it's I'm definitely not trying to toot our own horn, but I feel like it is really good information, really good stuff, and just really good encouragement to help you deal with and go through your waiting season or whatever it may be. The workbook, there is a price for that. In the same breath, the reason being is because there's a lot of exercises, and it's not just like a journal prompt where it's like, how did you feel today when you woke up and you answered the question? Like these are practical therapeutic exercises that you're doing where you're really doing the heart work. You're really doing self examinations of how am I feeling in this moment. You're writing letters to your future child. You are ripping up, and divorcing the thoughts written down that you've been having and dealing with for like the past 5 years or however long. Like there's things that you're doing that therapeutically is like, okay, I'm doing something with this work. I'm doing something with this pain. I'm getting rid of it. I'm processing emotions, and it comes with the scriptures as well, and questions and activities and all of that stuff. So it's just honestly something we believe that God gave us, and that we truly believe in, and that we just wanted to present to the world, just to help somebody else that's going through the weight. But you have anything to add?
No, well said, baby. Well said.
I love it. I love it. Now you have a tangible
Yeah.
item to help others in the process, not just through your social or but you're holding them accountable at home without you guys being in their space. It's like just do the workbook together, figure out what it means to be in the waiting season because it's a training season. It's just something you're learning. It's not just I'm just waiting here, twiddling my thumb. It's active waiting. It's an
Yeah.
active thing to do in the season. So if you are just sitting on the porch and just waiting, it's not it. It's an active wait. So feel free to go ahead, put the link of you guys' website. Feel free to get your portion of the work for your waiting season. And if you haven't checked in, I will be doing a giveaway and I will announce the person that is here. Now, if you're not here and decides to leave, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to call somebody else. Because I want you guys to get all the gem. However, definitely will go from the list to select a winner. And Alex put on the chat, thanks for sharing your story and congratulations on your miracle baby heart. Was adoption or even surrogacy ever or could be a part of your conversation? Did you ever talk about that at a certain age? Would you consider any of it of the above? Would you consider IVF again?
Great question. We definitely talked about adoption. We never went through with like the full process or anything, but it was definitely brought up. Um, I think from my standpoint, I talked about it, but I knew that wasn't truly what I wanted. So it was always an option, but I feel like I was the type to hold on and wait to see, okay, if we do adoption like that, it's going to be probably the last thing that we would do. Do you have anything to say about
That
that?
to say, I always like the adoption was a question. Like she said, that was going to be the last resort, right?
Mhm.
That to say, be open to what God has.
Yes.
Have open hands to what God has.
Yes.
We still would have had open hands to whatever God has, because we don't know how he's going to work, and
Mhm.
it could be adoption, it could be fostering, it could be something like that. We literally had friends where she was dealing with miscarriage. She decided she no longer gonna try. She just felt like she was done. Her cousin ended up getting sick or something and passed and had her name for her 3 kids. So literally it's like she went from none and trying to now having 3.
Mhm.
Um, so you just never know what God has in store. And so you gotta be open to it all. IVF, I think we are open to it. Again, I think we are again strong on we would love it another natural, but we have talked about IVF of possibly doing that again.
Yeah.
Mm. All right. Thank you, guys. If you guys don't have any other questions, ask now or forever hold your peace. But I am going to go in the names that I have for today. And I will share my screen. All right. You guys can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, that's fun.
lot of foolishness in the background. All right, so these are all the names that was in, and let's go.
I feel like we need a drum roll or something.
I
Yeah.
know.
Oh, that was
All right, Maria, congratulations. You,
congratulations.
yes,
Oh, you're so beautiful.
congratulations. You are the winner. And I will, this is, okay, how do I get out of this again? Okay. And it is a downloadable, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so I will add the email that you put in our check-in process, and you will get that directly to your email. Thank
Yes. How about something too much?
Thank you.
How about this? We'll do one more for sure, and that's on us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let me go back on the spinning.
Get the wheel back.
Wheel
Get
back.
it back.
Get the wheel back.
All right, let's share that screen again. Okay, hopefully it lets me do it twice. All right, there we go.
I gotta get one of these wheels. I don't know what I'm gonna use it for, but it's
Cassandra,
uh,
Cassandra, are you there? Making sure she is here. Is she?
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
All right.
Awesome. Awesome. So both of you guys, congratulations. You'll get your downloadable. I will send you Cassandra's email, and I will go ahead and put Maria. Was it Maria?
Mhm.
Yes. Let me write that down because Lord knows some perimenopause kick in every so often, and my memory, I'll be right back on the chat. It's like, oh, one it again. So,
Yeah.
congratulations, guys. Any final words that you are able to share with everyone before you go?
I'm low key sad to leave. I feel like this is beautiful. Like
Yeah.
honestly, this is beautiful. This beautiful space. It's something special that you are definitely doing and that is needed. Um, I see the messages coming in, just thanking us, but we just want to thank you guys for showing up, for acknowledging where you are and for deciding to be a part of a community is huge. So congratulations and thank you guys for doing that. Um, I would just say I'm gonna let you say something first because you know I'm a process. If you don't know, I'm a processor. So I wanted to get that out and just congratulate you guys on even showing up and being here. Like that is huge just to take that step.
Yeah. I think this space is awesome. I would say lean into your community. Whether it's this space, is with other people. We look at Adam and Eve. You look at Eve being created just as for Adam's wife, but it was for community. It was for him to have another person. And so we as humans were created to be in community. Um, to be able to lift hands, somebody to lift your hands up when you are weak in those
Yeah.
in moments. So you have this space here and you may have other people in your own personal space. And I just say continue to lean into that. That's one thing I think I wish we had when we were kind of going through it. It was we were each other's community, but
Yes.
to be as a couple to be have others would have been a beautiful thing to have. So yeah.
And I would say to like never, the thoughts are going to come, right? You're going to have these thoughts, you're going to have these doubts. Um, Give yourself grace, give yourself permission to feel the feels, give yourself um, the space in knowing that nothing is wrong with you. Um, Nothing is wrong with you. And that although we may not see it now, everything that we go through is for a reason and a purpose. We may not like it because we didn't like it. We still don't like
Feel
it. We
like
had to go through that. Um, but it's always going to be bigger than you. And so to take self out of it and to realize that um, nothing is by happenstance, although it may be hard. Um, just know that there is a reason behind that. And so sometimes the beauty is finding the reason and discovering what the why. And sometimes we may never know the why, but just being okay with knowing that you're being used by whoever you believe in. No, for us, it was for God, by God. Um, but just knowing that you are enough, nothing's broken, nothing's missing, you are whole, you are beautiful, and that um, yeah, you're fine just the way that you are. Everything's gonna work out exactly the way that's supposed to work out. So yeah, that's that. You're on
You
mute.
muted.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're
So
muted, Sandra. Yep. There
Thank
you
you. I was already having a full conversation by
we
myself.
saw the lips moving.
But thank you guys for saying yes. Our story has so much pain in it. It's real, and being vulnerable is not always easy, but in our space is necessary because
Mhm.
it's not for us. It's not for it's not just our journey. We collectively go into this journey, and I've told you ladies and gentlemen before, it's something about being handpicked by God to do something. Nah, I like we said before, I wish it was to pick something else that I wasn't selected by for this, but it's something about being selected by God to do his work. We may not understand it, but like you said, be the vessel, be open,
Mhm.
whatever direction he wants us to go to. Pain, suffering, but we know he had the ultimate pain. So our pain is nothing compared to the pain that he had on our behalf. So we're just doing his work in a very small, minute way.
Mhm.
And I thank you for being open to share it with this community because many of us don't have a place to wusa, and I didn't have it as well. I created this space as a way for me to wusa as well. It was my therapy, and it's something about helping others in this process. I'm like, okay, there was a reason for the pain. There was a reason for the late night tears, the shout, the doubt, the whys that you were asking. There's a reason. We may not see it in the season. When we're
Mhm.
out of the season or we're on the other side, that's when the puzzle is complete, or at least we can see the puzzle being put together. So right now, you may have 1,000 puzzles at on your table,
Yeah.
but there's pieces are being placed. Maybe those
Mhm.
corners are the easiest ones and they're being put together. There's a time that you will start seeing images and complete parts of the puzzle. You may not see it now, but hold on and be active in your season of wait, because there's either his answer is yes and amen, and you will get your yes and your amen eventually. So thank you guys for coming in. I will email you guys the email of the individual that won, and I will place my order as well. Thank you so much, and have a great night. And
go.
thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for doing this.
Yeah,
Have a good night,
absolutely.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Right.